You could figure out how to set this up on your own just by going through the examples. It's pretty straightforward, but I want to walk you through it in case there's any questions as to how to calculate what the payment actually looks like. Takes a little bit to warm up. Okay, again, this is just our standard Coyote Cotton spreadsheet, income statement. And all I've done in this one is to build in payments out of a standard multiple peril crop insurance, APH sort of program. Okay, so I'm insuring my cotton. It's yield-based, so it only works off of yield. Everything down till this point, to row 43, is exactly the same as we saw before. Okay? We're just calculating revenue, subtracting our costs, and getting net income. The information in blue here is adding the insurance activity. Okay, so we're adding just a basic yield insurance for Coyote Cotton. All right, the first thing we need to do, most important, is the indemnity calculation. Okay, so look at the indemnity calculation. That says if B6 is less than B51 times 820, what is that? Well, B6 is yield. So that's saying if the lid yield, okay, right there, so if B6 is less than B51 times 820, B51 is our yield election. So this is an 80% coverage product, okay? And that's pretty high in terms of crop insurance, times the 820, what is that? Well, that's our average yield. Okay, let's assume that that's our program yield on our farm. Our long-term 10-year average yield was 820 bushels, and it is, from our data. So if our yield is less than 80% of our long-term average, then we get B53 divided by 100, which is just the price. This is measured, cotton prices are measured in dollars per 100 pounds. So that just expresses it per pound. It's the only reason why I divided by 100. We get that times B51 times 820, which is our covered yield, minus our actual yield. So that is, in the notation we used the other day, that's our price multiplied by alpha y bar minus y actual. Okay, just in terms of our usual notation. So I get my my guaranteed yield or my insured yield minus what I actually got multiplied by the price. If not, if my yield is not below that covered yield, then I get 0. That's basically how an insurance program works. Okay? So we saw that formula in notation in algebra the other day. That's what it looks like with respect to Excel. So for your assignment, you've got a Cantaloupe income statement that I took from UC Davis Cantaloupe numbers. All you need to do is just drop that notation in, cut and paste, and then change the numbers to reflect the numbers from your Cantaloupe spreadsheet. Okay? That's the best way to do it. I'm not expecting you to go in and code it straight out from the ground up. The next thing you need to do is calculate, well, just average indemnity. That's just for information. Premium calculation. That is, I took that from the RMA website. The premium here is in B52, $57.44. I think I'll have to look at the Cantaloupe spreadsheet again. I think I give it to you. So the premium from the RMA website is $57.44. The idea here, 1 minus D50. D50 is the subsidy percent. Okay? So the subsidy percentage here, I've set that at 1. What does that mean? That means that, let's see, the premium is 1 minus 1 times B52. That's 0 times B52. Basically, I'm getting free insurance. Okay? So if I take that subsidy down to 80%, my premium is going to be $11.45 or 48, $11.49. Okay? So I'm going to pay $11.49. This is the actuarially sound premium. So that's going to cover the USDA's losses, $57. and the farmer, if he's subsidized 80%, will pay 11.5 bucks. And that's reasonable, okay? Or semi-normal, let's put it that way. Yield election, 80%. Talked about the gross premium. And the insurance price, that's B7. That's just our long run average price from right here. So B7 is just our long run average price based on our data for net prices in Arizona. Okay? And we use that to calculate again. Remember, we bring that into the indemnity B53 over 100. B53 is just that price. If there is a price election less than 100% of the price, then we can put that parameter in there. I didn't want to make it any more complicated. So just as long as you understand this basic mechanism and the fact that our insurance price is not necessarily always 100% of what this is. Okay. All right, so then we calculate down here. Once we calculate our indemnity, we have to calculate net income plus insurance. So in the calculation there, it's D43, which is our net income before insurance, plus D47. D47 is the indemnity that we get paid, okay? Minus D49. D49 is our premium. So our net income after insurance is before insurance plus the indemnity minus the premium. And this is our insurance after. Notice that I haven't simulated it yet. So this is just taking our regular income, subtracting the premium at this point. So that's why it looks so bad. Okay? Down here, to measure whether or not it's successful or not, I've set up a bunch of stuff in the orange. I've taken our call it the risk metrics stuff from Cody Cotton 3, copied it over here, and I'm creating a scenario under no risk management. So I'm looking at all of these, our Sharpe ratio, our VAR, and our certainty equivalent value using B57. And the VAR uses net income. What's B57? That was looking at gamma. But it's all based off of that D43, which is the pre-insurance net income, or not covered insurance. This is pre-risk management, not doing anything. And then down here, we do all the same measures, but now we're using D55. That's our net income after insurance. So this is what we're going to use to decide whether or not insurance works. We're going to compare all of our risk measures with insurance compared to without insurance. Nice clean experiment, right? It's all hypothetical, but this is the way we do it. So we've got the utility expected profit, expected utility of profit, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so once you got that set up, let's save, and let's crank it through. Okay, so let's look at our different risk measures. Here, we see the average indemnity is $1.53 for our revenue in a normal yield is normal year is about 668. So if we're getting an average indemnity of $1.53, it's not going to make a big difference, right? Yeah, pretty small change in net income, and we see that our VAR was minus 84 without insurance. It drops to minus 95 with insurance, right? That's not looking good. The certainty equivalent was $23 before, now it's 16.4, not looking good. The expected utility of profit, $875, below $935 without insurance, not looking good. All right? So how can we make insurance? Basically, the conclusion from running this simulation is that at an 80% yield level, this farmer has no incentive to cover. Okay, worse off, right? How can we make this better? Well, let's bump this insurance subsidy back up to 100%. And let's say that instead of insuring at an 80% level, they can insure at a 90% level. Okay? So now it's going to insure if yield drops just 10% below that average, okay? So roughly 80 pounds of cotton per acre below the average. So let's run it again. Okay, we could look at each one of these different outputs, but let's just look at our summary measures. Now our average indemnity is up to 664, and we see that our VAR is now minus 81 relative to minus 86. So we really do have an improvement, right, at $5 in terms of VAR. The expected utility of profit, 923 versus now it's 935. Our certainty equivalent was 2153, now it's 2522. So all of those different measures that we've looked at before are now way better with the insurance relative to not. So what we could do is, you know, this is pretty cool, because if you're managing a farm, you could set this up, and you could use this to decide whether or not you needed to buy insurance in a given year. Okay, even if you didn't want to put it, if you didn't know what your own gamma was, how risk averse you were, you could calculate just straight out the average profit on any given year, just by comparing these two values here. Net income plus insurance, we have to go to, let's see, browse results. We can go to net income plus insurance to see that the mean there is actually 7129. And the mean here, net income, mean is 6465. Okay. So remember, just one note. When you're looking at this spreadsheet, you can't just look at those numbers. I did for these ones just to make it quick, but you have to click on and browse results to see what the actual mean was, because this just shows what the last iteration was. Okay? When it stops, that's what is displayed on the screen. You have to go to browse results to see what the actual distribution for each one of those looks like. Okay? So on your assignments, remember to do that. Okay? Now, I can't remember exactly what questions I asked, but feel free to cut and paste these distributions, you know, and write some text around it. Obviously, explain to me a lot, but justify to me that that insurance product for cantaloupes is going to work or not. Maybe if you find that it didn't, tell me so. Okay? Any questions on that?